today's writing circle. I'm just going to record, so you may get a oh, that's already someone's recording for me. Okay, thank you. So you will have received a notification for that. Okay, so today's writing circle is on presenting, conference and milestone seminars. So lots of information for you today. I normally co-host this with Dr. Murray Lane, one of my colleagues here in the grad team. He's our learning designer. Unfortunately, Murray isn't physically here today, but he has created a video for his section. So that was really nice. Okay, so just to give you some housekeeping tips, as you all know, we're all very familiar with Zoom now. You can chat here directly to me or to each other if you like, and appreciate that all of you have already put your student number into the chat for us. Today we have our newest team member, Sentha, here today helping moderate. So thank you in advance to Sentha. If you see some links and documents put into the chat, that's Sentha who's doing that for us. Okay, so let's begin with the acknowledgement. Excuse me, I'm getting over a flu at the moment, so I'm apologizing in advance for some coughing. All right, QT acknowledges the Turrbal and Yagara as the First Nations owners of the lands where we stand here in QT. We pay respect to their elders, laws, customs, and creation spirits. And we recognize that these lands have always been places of teaching, research, and learning. QT acknowledges the important role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people play within our community. Lovely, and it's a lovely new slide. Okay, so in this session, we're going to, because this is a writing circle, and as hopefully most of you are becoming aware, Dr. Kerry Freeman and I, we are the HDR writing support team, and we've tried to differentiate between workshops and writing circles. Workshops are more information-based, writing circles are more activity-based. So last week, in fact, we did a workshop on delivering presentations. Today is a writing circle, so try to be a little bit more activity-based today. We're going to talk about how to deliver than what to deliver. So, and always delivering those presentations with impact. So I thought first up, we could find out, why are you here? Why have you come to today's writing circle? So give you an opportunity in the chat to tell me why you are here. Are you here because your confirmation's coming up, your final seminar's coming up? Are you doing a Masters of Philosophy symposium? Perhaps you're presenting at a conference, or you may be doing our 3MT competition or another competition. So great, thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer's has a conference coming up. Oh, Carla's final seminar, Angelique is a conference. And we have others who have confirmation, not feeling very experienced, and final seminar. Fantastic. Thanks so much for contributing to the chat. Also, we've got lots of milestones as well. Maybe there's a balance of milestones and conferences. So yes, standing in front of a crowd can be scary. Great. Oh, thank you so much. Lots of information here. Learn skills. Great. Thank you so much. We actually have a great number of people here today. So Sentha's going to put into a link, which she's just done. Thank you. So this is information on all the milestones that we have here at QT. This link leads to some videos about confirmation seminars, final seminars, all the information that you need there. So I encourage you to go and have a look at that. Oh, fantastic. Jennifer's doing our 3MT competition. So I've got some more information about that later on today as well. Okay, great. So you can see lots of people are here. Presentations are part of candidature. There's no escaping them. Especially, you know, with the milestones, and we do need to have that practical preparation for you to go out there and give a stellar performance. Okay, so moving along, in this session, I'm going to divide it by planning your seminar. We're going to talk about strong openings and strong closings. And I'm even going to give you an opportunity to create your own. Murray's section is the design layout. So he'll be coming to you through video today to talk to you about the design layout. Then it's back to me, and I'll be talking all about the oral presentation, which includes body language and voice. And then we'll also talk today about question time, which is, also a really equally important time and sometimes scary time of a presentation. Okay, so planning your seminar. Obviously, the planning stage is vital. It's really important that you do some planning. You need to know the context. Many of you have told me your context, what you're doing. The things you need to consider are how long, the duration of how long you should be speaking, and then that link that Santha put in will lead you to guidelines on how long your seminar should be. You also need to consider, who are you pitching to? Who is your audience? Are they informed? Are they very well informed of your topic, or do they have no idea about your topic? Okay, perhaps they are even assessing you. So it's really important to know who your audience is and who you're pitching to. Obviously, that's going to determine the content that you include, your manner, and the look and feel of the presentation as well. So it's really important to have a plan. Yesterday morning, you should have received an email from us with, I think it's the, it's not the confirmation email. It's the reminder. That's right. There's a reminder email. And in that email, I sent this document to you. Don't worry if you didn't see it. Santha's just put it into the chat for you. And in a follow-up email today, I will also send it out to you. So basically, this is just a very quick, basic, simple guide for you to help you plan your seminars. It has things like your research title. What is the event that you're going to? Now, your presentation title may not be the same as your research title. You may want to include like a catchy title. Or sometimes too, when we're presenting, we may not be presenting the entirety of our research. So you may want to include a presentation title that talks to exactly what that presentation is about. Obviously, we need to think of the audience. Who is the audience? Excuse me. Who do you most need to impress? Make sure you have that great eye contact with judges or panelists. Also, the duration. It's really important that you keep to the timing, and you need to practice that as well. Also, we need to consider the scope of your topic and also the outline. So I don't want you to actually fill this out now. It's just something for you to keep and to consider for your presentation. Okay. So when we're outlining our presentation, there's obviously more than one way to do that, but generally we have these main components. So we identify the main ideas. So if you're, for example, here today because you're preparing for your final seminar, your research is massive. It's a massive document and you cannot include every part of it, unfortunately. So you need to identify the main ideas, and you may need to have a conversation with your supervisory team about what those are. It's always also good to just write down keywords. I find if you write down full sentences, you can get bogged down into reading them out, which may actually not sound really natural. Also, it's a good idea to, some people use sticky notes, and you can add subsets of ideas when you're organizing it and you're outlining it. You might find that you've got one idea, which is really a subset of another main idea. So you need to really refine your ideas and organize them clearly so that your audience can follow your presentation. So that's to put them in presenting order and then format them. So Murray is going to talk to you in his video about formatting them. He has, you can see in this slide here, he's used a Word document to create his plan, and you can see there the session, what he's doing, and then he will show you later how you can actually take this Word document and put it into a PowerPoint. I was actually unaware that this was indeed a function of Word and PowerPoint, so I was quite pleased to learn this myself. Okay. So also I wanted to remind you or let you know that now in QUT, part of your responsibility as a student is to book the Milestone seminar room. So Sentha's got the link there. Thank you, Sentha. That's the link for you to go and do that. Please don't worry if all these little links are popping up in the chat. I will be sending all of these out in a follow-up email later, but it is a requirement. You may want to have a discussion with your supervisory team about how you want to present. Perhaps you want to do it via Zoom. I think nowadays hybrid style is becoming increasingly more popular. So you may want to do both. And there's a skill in learning how to do that. Look at your audience and look at your camera. And so just prepare, plan, and don't forget you need to book a room if you do indeed do it face-to-face. Something else I would really recommend that you do, and I do mention this in other workshops, is it's important to go and watch someone else. You all have an opportunity, you all get emails in your student email telling you about confirmation seminars coming up and final seminars coming up. Go along, go and watch someone else. Sentha's going to put in a copy of our observation of a presentation checklist. I'll just go to the next slide to show you what that looks like. So basically, it's asking you lots of questions to consider. So I just have a couple here to remind you. So as you're watching someone speak, you're going to sit back and you're not going to be anxious because it's not your turn yet, and you're going to fill it out. Is the speaker prepared? How did they start? What was their opening? Was it a great opening? Did they memorize their opening, or did they read it? Were they nervous? Were they fidgeting? All of those things. Did the speaker use his or her notes? And that's completely fine to have notes, but we need to use them well. Did the speaker engage with the audience, and how so? Through body language, through eye contact, through their voice, sometimes pausing, emphasizing something. You know, our voice can be very powerful, and we will talk about that later as well. Something else, was the presentation logically organized? Sometimes you see a speaker say, I'm going to give you 3 ideas, and then they only give you 2. And sometimes you're left waiting, well, what's the 3rd one? So you need to have a clear, logical organization, and especially as an audience member, watching the way they do it. Just like I did today at the start, I told you that I'm going to talk about those things, and progressively I will do that. Also, how did the speaker handle question time? So we're going to look at question time later as well, but it's also just, it's a really important part, especially for milestone seminars and conference seminars. So you can learn from by watching someone else, okay? So really important. Please use this document if you like. I've created this document in according to stages, which is the preparation stage, the delivery stage, and the question time stage. In the workshop that Murray and I did last week, which was more just information-based, we went through these stages. If you are interested in watching our workshop from last week, there's an older version recorded on our HDR Student Blackboard site. Okay, so the next document that Sentha is going to put in for you, just see, are you all still able to see the screen? Yes? I haven't done anything just now. Okay, thank you, Gary. So this is also a document that I gave in last week's workshop, but I think it's valuable to give to you again today. It's basically a planning document. And for those people who are here because of milestones, it just guides you on, your title slide, a slide that you will include on your background or your research problem or your research aims, and then your lit review. So it just gives you a scope of what to do. So this is the confirmation document, I think, stops on page 5, and then the final seminar continues, because in the final seminar, you'll also be talking about your results and discussion. Okay, so please have a look at this, and I hope that it's a valuable tool for you. Thank you, Santha, who's put that into the chat. All right, so as I said at the beginning, this is a writing circle. We want to make it interactive. On that document that Santha gave you at the beginning, if you do have it in front of you, your presenting seminars worksheet, there is a space for you to write an opening line and a closing line for your upcoming conference. So I'm just preparing you to start thinking. As I talk to you about strong openings and closings, I want you to consider what event you have coming up, what presentation you have coming up, and consider, what could possibly your opening line be and your closing line. So the reason I have a thread here as my image is because the opening and closing really do connect. And if you can connect them, it just gives you that beautiful, 360 closing, connection. Just like your document, your thesis, you have an introduction and a conclusion, and they should mirror each other as well. And I often say to students, when you're writing your introduction chapter, you really should be starting to consider your conclusion chapter as well. Have 2 documents open at the same time. Openings and closings work like that as well. So, for example, if you decide you're going to start with a story at the beginning, perhaps in your closing, you could refer back to that story. If you ask an open-ended question in your opening, perhaps in your closing, you could consider providing a possible answer to that question. Okay, things like that. So a strong opening, the reason it's important, number one, it captures your audience's attention. If you are well prepared, it also builds your credibility. It can make you memorable, and also it will make you relatable. I would like to suggest, so as I said at the beginning, and I often say to students, if you have, when I actually first started doing presentations, I would have papers and I would have the entire thing written out. And I realized it did not make me relatable. I seemed quite robotic, and I wasn't human. So I started to just do dot points, and the dot points really helped me as well. However, I'd like to say here, in your opening, this is Tasha's advice, Tasha's tips. I think it's a good idea to memorize what you want to say. Looking at notes or, fumbling or relying on a PowerPoint may not be, a great, strong opening. I think the only time and the best time for you to memorize something is at the beginning. Have everything ready, prepared, practice your strong opening. Okay, that would be my advice. So you could, of course, always smile. We always start with a smile, even if your topic is serious. It makes you human, it makes you relatable. You don't need to do a big crazy grin, just a warm smile. Introduce yourself. Please welcome your guests. Acknowledge those important people like your supervisors or a panel. And something else that you can do is to create a hook. We call it this great hook at the beginning. So here's some ideas for a hook. Obviously, depending on the context, you could have something humorous, something outrageous. I would always suggest that you read the title of your presentation. So the PowerPoint will strategically be behind you. You don't need to turn and look at it. You can read the title of your presentation because that orientates your audience to your topic. That's my advice. You could have some contrasting information. You could ask a rhetorical question. You could even give a personal anecdote or a famous quotation. Okay, but think of a great way, a great opening line or hook. Closings, by contrast, and again, as I said to you, they have that thread, they can connect. You could end by introducing an implication for your research. You could end by explaining your next steps. You could loop back to that beginning. And I just want to remind you, please say thank you at the end. Please don't apologize for mistakes. Many people do that. I've noticed that a lot. People like to end by saying, oh, I'm really sorry that the projector wasn't working, or you don't need to apologize. That's okay. It sometimes can take away from your presentation. Again, smile warmly at the end, even if your topic is serious. So that there are my tips for a strong closing. And I really do also want to stress, think of the final words that you're saying. Sometimes I see people say, that's it, that's all, I'm finished. It really does detract from the research or the presentation as well. Have a really nice final sentence prepared and ready, and say, thank you so much for coming to my presentation today. Finish. So, to have a nice, clear ending. All right, guys, so I can't see you out there, but I'm hoping that you're all eagerly ready to write a killer opening and closing line. So again, at the beginning, you told me why you're here today. So I'd like you to consider that particular presentation that's coming up for you. I don't expect you to have this amazing opening, closing line by the end of today, but at least it's an opportunity for you to start thinking about it. So what I'm going to do is stop talking for about 30 seconds, a minute, and I'm going to ask you to write down what your opening line could be. As you're doing that, consider what your closing line, see if there's that connection. And I'm also going to give you the opportunity to turn on your mic, turn on your camera, have a go. I was considering doing breakout rooms for this, but I don't think a minute is enough time for you to do that. So I'll turn off my mic and camera for a minute, and I'll come back. And I really would appreciate it if we could have a lovely volunteer. All right, good luck, guys. All right, I think that was about a minute. So I'm trying to be kind and see if there's any, firstly, I'll see if there's any volunteers. Do I have anyone there who would like to volunteer? And, put on your mic if you like, your camera, or else you can just put it into the chat. Trying to see who I know here who's got that that confidence. Normally, if this was in a face-to-face situation, we'd all be sitting at a desk and you'd have a go and introduce yourselves. Why don't I ask you then, would you like to go into a breakout room and have a go with someone? Let me know in the chat, or thumbs up if you think that's a good idea. This is the problem with Zoom sometimes. Okay, yeah. Jennifer saying needs more time. Ruth saying can't think of anything. It is hard to be put on the spot. I think more than anything, it's making you consider the fact that that's what you have to do. Part of your job now is to think of something. Oh, Gary, fantastic. Would you like to turn on your mic and your camera?
Hi, Tasha. Can you hear me?
Hello, good morning.
Hello. I'm brave enough to turn my microphone on, but not my camera.
Absolutely, no worries. Tell us your context. What's your what presentation you're giving? Give us a little bit of context.
All right. I'm looking at social media and how people maybe form and maintain relationships using social media, and what does that mean, and how do you understand that? And it's more complex than one would think. We all have access to extraordinary amounts of digital technology and communications. So logically, that would must mean we can communicate and understand each other. So my opening line is, with digital communications, everybody on the planet is potentially connected to the other. But does that mean we understand each other? And what does that mean for relationships?
Beautiful, beautiful rhetorical question. I love it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Did you consider your closing?
No, I just got that done. But no, now I've done this, I can probably think of, as you say, a reverse hook, or sort of something like, what does that mean? Or what have we understood by this, or something like that?
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, it does depend on how long the presentation is. If you're doing something, quite short, the memory, the audience's memory of what your hook was, what your rhetorical question was, is still with them. Of course, we can use our slides to support our closing, that connection as well. But yeah, sometimes if you've been talking for an hour, your audience may have forgotten that original anecdote, or depending if it's humorous or depending on what it is. But yeah. Consider that.
Well, I'm aiming to do a final seminar at the end of the year, but also hopefully do a conference sometime before that, which is in November, I think. But so I'm presuming that the conference would only, and I haven't done this before, so I'm presuming, I know that the final seminar would be probably about 40 minutes to present. But for the conference, I'm not sure how much time I would have, maybe half of that, 20 minutes or perhaps, I'm not sure. And, and with the final seminar, as you were saying earlier, there's everything involved. I mean, you can't say everything like with a PhD document. And of course, with a seminar, or rather a conference, it would be, I'm presuming I'd be finding a specific point or a couple of points to present that reflects the research. I don't know. I think that's
exactly, and that's why your research title and your presentation title can be different as well. And yes, presumably you're taking part of your research to a conference, and it's difficult. It's difficult to decide which part you want to include, because you've obviously, as the researcher, you've discovered and found a gap, and you've got this wonderful original contribution, and you're just like, oh, which part should I include? So it can take a lot of time. The planning stage really does take a long time.
Yeah, it's knowing what what to leave out.
And yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Well done for having a go today and starting, because it's really just that first step, isn't it? You write it and then consider what's the closing. And as we said at the beginning, that opening line will make you memorable. You need to make it memorable, and you need to be relatable as well. And bringing us into it and saying, you know, we all use social media. I think it is. You're connecting to the audience.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you
Well, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Very brave. You get a brave sticker today.
Oh, good.
Is there anybody else who'd like to have a go? No pressure. All right. I will.
Can I say something, Natasha?
Yeah.
That just to everybody else, I'm to actually say what I just said then in front of all you guys was actually quite liberating. So I think it's important. That's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, beautiful. And I'm sitting here thinking, God, I wish we were all sitting in a room together, because I think it's sometimes these Zoom sessions, you know, we just don't get the full benefit from these events. Kerry and I do want to make it, writing circles are those practical activities where you all sit and meet and talk, because we do strive to have a community of practice here in the grad team and the writing support. And hopefully things are changing, and we will be having more, you know, hybrid events at least coming up. But yeah, good for you. I'm glad that you attempted that. All right, last chance for anyone.
I could give it a go. Just the sentence that I used in my confirmation seminar for now, which I might use for the conference again.
Thanks, Jennifer. We can't hear you very clearly. Can you get closer to your mic?
Yeah, sorry. I have got multiple screens there. Can I turn the camera on? Yeah.
Great.
So I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah.
So basically the sentence that I started my confirmation seminar with was, did you know what the World Economic Forum predicted that based on current trends, it will take 135.6 years to close the global gender gap and achieve global gender equality.
Wow. How many years? Can you repeat that?
135.6 years.
Yeah, crazy.
Close the gender gap.
And you know, the reason I love this is it's a number, it's a statistic, and it can really engage the audience. And sometimes, Jennifer, did you have that on your slide as you said it?
Yeah, I did have like a slide with gender equality and what matters to you as a question.
I think, you know, we're very lucky to be able to use PowerPoints as that crutch, that support in the background. You know, you're speaking to the audience, to the camera, but having it in the background just reinforces. A number is something like that. It's really powerful, and it can make people go, wow, that's amazing. And I really like
just put the number on the slide.
Well, I think so. It can orientate your focus, you know, and also pausing before you say the number. And Jennifer, I noticed when you actually started with your question, your voice slowed down and you were clearer. And I think that's something instinctively that we do, and we should do. We should, when we're especially talking about numbers or dates or percentages, it's important to slow and say it clearly and emphasize it, even, especially if it's, you know, astounding, and let the audience feel your emphasis, you know. So everyone out there, please consider that as well with numbers and important, you know, surprising information. And you did that, Jennifer, just now when you were reading it out to us. Thank you for sharing. Did you have
I have another question regarding that, because this number I didn't put in my paper now for the conference. So I don't know if I should use it or should use another number that I then used in the paper for the conference.
I mean, it's up to you. You know what the focus of your research is, what your title is as well. Use the number that's most pertinent to your focus, I guess.
Yeah, this is just a good opening, and then I have further numbers down the track in the introduction.
Too many numbers at the beginning and can be overwhelming. But if you give, especially if it's a rhetorical question, say it slowly, say it clearly. And I also do want to stress, and I will be talking about that later with everyone in the voice, you as researchers, you're so familiar with your topic and those keywords that you use, like gender gap or whatever it is. Remember, your audience isn't. So it's really important, especially at the start, especially when you're reading your title slide, say it clearly and slowly so that your audience can hear those keywords as well. But yeah, thank you. Really appreciate you contributing as well. Thanks so much. Jaja has said, can't talk. My topic is about public interest tests in Chinese contract law. I would like to talk about the interesting background or the influence importance of my research problem in the opening line and use some figures to show the possible influence. Absolutely. I think that's really, topical at the moment. And I think that having an opening that's topical and interesting to your audience is great. Thank you. All right. Well, again, you do have that sheet. Start thinking, guys. Start thinking, what's your opening line? What's your closing line? And also start watching others. Look at them. What was their opening line? What was their closing line? Do you want to steal their ideas? Go for it. Maybe you'll find someone who didn't do a good job and you can see why they didn't do a good job and ensure that you don't follow that as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to sit back for I think about 15 minutes. And this is Murray. Well, let me just press pause. Murray, as I said, he couldn't be here today, but he has kindly recorded his part, which is the design layout. Murray is our learning designer in the GRED team. So I'll just sit back and let you listen to this. Okay, thanks everyone.
Hi everyone. Sorry I can't be there, but I'm sure Tasha is doing an amazing job facilitating the writing circle without me. I'm just going to be including the visual part of the presentation for you that Tasha will facilitate the activity for. So I'll be looking at using PowerPoint and Word, looking at some visual design principles, and then we'll move on to the actual activity where you get to design your own slide. So first of all, just looking at a couple of techniques that you can use by combining PowerPoint and Word to just make it a little bit quicker for you when setting up your presentations to start with. The idea here, and this is just one technique that combines the two pieces of software. The idea here is to write an outline for your presentation in Microsoft Word and then import it into PowerPoint without having to retype everything into PowerPoint or copy and paste. You can do it all in the one action. So you need to set up your Word document a certain way. So this is an image of what it will look like in Microsoft Word when you have as your title and you've planned out what you're going to say. Don't have to, I guess, plan absolutely everything from the outset because you might want to take it into PowerPoint and then do some editing there as well. But if you do this, just kind of have everything in dot point format and go to View and Outline, and it will look like this. So we're still in Microsoft Word here, but just a different looking arrangement of it to more easily allow you to see what's going to be exported. Now, one of the important things while in Word, you need to have everything in a heading format style. So you know how you can make each section a text style. Everything is heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So this is a heading 1. These are heading, probably easier to show you here. This is heading 1, and these are heading 2s and 3. So then when you import it into Microsoft PowerPoint, the whole thing comes across. The way you do it is by going to New Slide and then Slides from Outline. And you just actually find your file that you've saved from Word, and it brings the whole lot in. The very first heading will be the title screen, and then each slide after that will be the heading underneath it with all the additional information. So these are all types of headings in Word. So that's just one quick way, because you get all the words all in one go. It just makes it a little bit easier for you. Just one little tip. Another tip while you're now in PowerPoint is to use some of the design template type features, automated features that PowerPoint offers, which can also be quite handy. So this is one about just how to add images. There's a kind of a suite of images already as a bank within PowerPoint that you can use. If you go to Pictures and Online Pictures, you'll get a screen like this. You type in your keyword, and probably, depending on the context, if it's a more public context, you want Creative Commons so that you're able to share other people's photos that they've uploaded. And then you just get a whole choice of what you can choose. So for this example, I've just then chosen this image and plonked it into one of my slides. And the great thing is, when you choose that Creative Commons license, it also comes with a citation for you in a format that is a kind of a standard format. So it's quite a nice feature. So rather than having to go outside of PowerPoint, there's a number of other sites you can find open access images, even within PowerPoint. There's this really cool feature that you don't even have to leave. So then you might want to do something with it, because at the moment we've just got a standard heading and one image with a citation. There are some features in PowerPoint that you can use that helps to design your layout. And this one is Design Ideas, which is in the top right-hand corner of the main screen. So you click on that, and it actually gives you, down the side, it gives you some choices of what it would look like. It's really easy to design this way. There might not be the exact ones you want, but even if you kind of like one, you can open that one and then manipulate it. So that's another good idea. And so this was the one I've chosen for this activity. I put my name in there as well. It kind of looks a little bit designerly, with a curve. That would, if you had to actually work out how to put a curve into an image in PowerPoint, you could be there for a long time. So it's just another great little tool just to speed things up, just to make it quicker for you, so you don't have to kind of reinvent everything right from scratch. One other approach is design themes. Design themes is found in PowerPoint if you go to Design across the top of the screen. And this, while the previous function, this just applies to the current slide that you're on. This design ideas, it's just for one slide at a time. But this design themes applies a format to all the slides. You need to be really careful with this one, because if you don't like it, it's hard to go backwards. So make sure you save your PowerPoint in a way that you can reuse it later once you've changed this sort of template. So when you click on design, it comes up with a kind of a suite of colors and layouts. And it's just a matter of choosing the one or ones, or actually in this case we only have one choice as well. You can have a different first screen with the design ideas. So this one idea, you do design idea for the first screen and then a template for the rest. So you just choose the template that you want. I've chosen this, I probably wouldn't normally choose this, but for the purposes of the exercise, I've chosen a green main text for the first slide, and then a green kind of banner on the right-hand side, and it kind of has kind of a green theme, I guess you could call it. So that's been applied to all slides throughout the slide presentation. So there's some good points and bad points about using this design themes. The good points, the pros, are it's easy, it's quick, they're excellent. I mean, they're pretty compelling reasons, right? And it also looks pretty professional. Sometimes it does actually feel a little bit too generic. You know, all this green stuff can kind of, it looks like it's come from the factory rather than you specifically making it. But pretty good generally. Yes, and so the cons are, yeah, is it actually too generic? It's good for your presentations to look like you own it and you've gone to a lot of trouble to personalize the images that are reflecting what you're saying. So if it looks too generic, that can sometimes take away from that. And it might not always meet some good design principles for your layout. Now, I haven't actually got to the design principles because that comes next. So what are some key design principles that you might want to use if and when you're not actually just taking something off the shelf and using it yourself? When you want to actually rearrange the things on the screen to personalize what you're doing. And I thoroughly recommend that you take this approach as well. In particular, when you have, maybe you've got like 3 drafts on the screen or something, or a different image, the templates don't always accommodate that so well. So you're always going to have to rearrange things, even if you're taking templates. There's a million kind of visual design principles that you can use. I've just refined these for you. That these are the ones that I think researchers should be taking the most care about in their design presentation. So I've kind of reduced it down to 4 just to make it easier for you. Consistency, legibility, visual interest, and balance. And we're just going to have a quick look at what they are so that you can more or less do the things that graphic designers do. The graphic designers are looking at these sorts of things all the time. They might not, if they're experienced, it might not be as explicit for them. They might not need to think, oh, now I need to look at consistency, now I need to look at legibility. They just kind of come natural because they're all the skill set that a graphic designer might already know. But if you're not as experienced in graphic design, then you can pretend to be, you know? You can pretend to be a graphic designer just by following some simple rules. You might not be able to be as competent as be able to finesse graphic design as well as someone with 10 years experience, but you can really fake it quite well for a pretty solid design. Okay, so let's look at the first one, consistency. Now what I'm referring to in consistency relates to the color and the size and the alignment and the spacing. It's all the elements. Are the elements consistently used within the slide and within slides? So consistency, as by way of example here, is there's a consistency in the text color and size. You know, this text is all the same color, it's all the same size. The main title is a little bit larger and a different color. But those that have the same kind of weighting, they're all the same. There's a consistent spacing. This spacing here on this side is the same as across the top. So the consistency in the way that it's spaced around the perimeter. There's a consistency in the alignment of the text down here. It's all in a row. There's not sort of text over here and text over there. And this consistency should also be shown across a number of slides. You know, I've got a kind of image here on all of my slides, pretty much all of my slides, that is the same. You know, I've got a guideline. So I know that it's going to be consistent with this slide to the next slide. There's another image here. You don't have to have an image here, you might have it down there or wherever, but at least you should be looking for some consistency around where you're placing things. Consistency will help actually with the next one, which is legibility. Legibility, there's I guess a number of key elements. The reason legibility is important is because what you're trying to do, your entire aim of your research presentation, is to sell your research so that people can understand what you're on about. And if your visuals aren't legible, then they're likely to be distracting, taking away from your message. You have the opportunity with your visuals to add to your message rather than take away. So it's best to make the most of this opportunity. You know, the visuals give you an opportunity to reinforce your message, to allow people to better understand it. The images should complement your spoken words. That will make your spoken words more legible, and your images more legible. There should be a relevant choice of image for the audience. Consider who you're presenting to, and whether the images that you're including make sense to them. Avoid overly distracting or generic images. This goes back to the idea of overly generic templates that we were talking about earlier. If it's a bit too bland, if it looks like again, it's kind of, if it comes from a factory. I don't know if this is an analogy. You know, it's a metaphor. That if it's too generic, it may also be distracting. And arranging according to the importance. So, you know, the most important word on this screen is legibility, so it's a little bit larger and it kind of stands out. That helps with the legibility of the screen. So in size and emphasis, headings are bigger and dot points smaller. And so the dot points are kind of cut in as well. So they're sub points of the larger ones. So there's visual cues. Visual interest relates to how the newness and difference. This is it. So it's important with your presentations to keep your audience engaged. And the visual element is one way to keep your audience interested in what you're talking about. It's important, but this point here about sometimes being at odds with other principles, you don't want it to be so interesting that nobody understands it. You know, if you go too far, if it's too wacky, it may actually interfere with legibility, for example. So it's possible that if you go too far in one way, you might be clashing with one of the other principles. So it's just something that you should be considering. Balance is the last aspect. Balance is a really difficult one to teach. Balance has to do with an even arrangement or an even weighting across the screen or a page, depending on what it is you're designing. And it relates to whether it's pleasing to the eye. It has a kind of a holistic quality. So if we look at this particular design, for example, there's a kind of a weighting on one side and a weighting on the other. And generally, they tend to balance each other out. One easy way of doing that is to have everything symmetrical and down the middle. There is a way to approach it. You can easily get it balanced because it will be equal weighting from one side to the other. Not always adding to the visual interest. If you have things that are kind of offset, then that's a bit more interesting and relates to balance. So they're the design principles: consistency, legibility, interest, and balance. And so I'd encourage you to be forever looking to make these things logical for you and to kind of to balance the four principles so that they all they're as good as you can get them. There's sometimes it's a compromise, but you need to be working towards getting them as good as they can be. So we have an activity now where we'd like you to design your own PowerPoint. Where we're after just one slide, where you'll upload it to a Padlet that Tasha will provide the link for. So what we're asking you to do is just to have some text. You can have extra text, but this is like a minimum. Have a title of your presentation, your name. Let's treat this like it's the title slide for your presentation. Okay. So have your title and your name. You need at least one image. It's like a hero shot. Hero shot means like the big, the amazing shot. And design it according to the principles that we've laid out. Okay, so you've got this. You're making one slide. It's got a title, your name, so it's got a little bit of text. You can have other text if you like. It has at least one image, and you're arranging these in a way that relates to consistency, legibility, interest, and balance. Okay, so you'll upload it to the Padlet, and I'll let I'll let Tasha show you where that is. So thank you so much for participating in the activity. I hope that you get something out of it and look forward to the results. Sorry I can't be there, but hey, technology does mean I can be both in the training that I'm in right now and in your workshop. I'll look forward to hearing how it goes from Tasha later on. Bye.
Yes, how amazing is technology? Well, thank you so much to Murray for his expertise in talking about the design principles. So yes, I'm just going to, I'm not sure if Cynthia's got the link, but I've got it as well. Here's the link to the Padlet. I've got the design principles there. If you prefer, you could use the QR code here. The instructions are really simple. You go to the Padlet and there's a plus sign on the Padlet. You click on that and then you upload it. But obviously, before you do that, you need to create it. So I want you to consider the these, oh, where are we? You have to go backwards. So go to PowerPoint, please. What's your title? What's your name? Please find an image and then design it according to these 4 principles. So it may take you a little bit of time, but we'll give you about 5 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes. And these are design principles that Murray's just been talking about. So once more, please open your PowerPoint right now. Choose a title, write your name, find that image, use our design principles, and then you can upload it to our Padlet by first using the plus and this little green function here, this little icon is the upload. So I'm going to put the Padlet up. We can have a look. Murray already has his here. So this is what Murray's looks like. It's got his name, it's got his title, and this is his slide. So here's our Padlet. I'm just waiting for you then to go ahead and create your slide. So I guess I'll keep the, it shouldn't actually take you long. Murray and I have done this before in a presentation and everyone did some fabulous slides, and it just really gave you that push to actually consider what will your title slide look like. So I might keep the instructions open for a minute and I'll come back. We've got 2 minutes until it's 11 o'clock. So I'll come back at 11 o'clock and we'll have a look and see if anybody's uploaded to the Padlet. Okay, guys, so again, if we were in a live room, this would be easier for me to go around and check what everybody's doing. You are welcome to ask me a question or write in the chat if you like. Let's have a look, see if anyone has had a go. I'm probably rushing you. I can see someone's moving on there. Please take your time, and you can actually, this PowerPoint, this Padlet will be available, I think, forever until we turn it off. And you can come and see each other's as well. But it's just nice for you to have a go and consider those principles that Murray stressed, those 4 principles of consistency, legibility, visual interest, and balance. So just going to stall for a little bit because I can see someone is currently creating theirs. So Gary, I'll put in, there's a link to this Padlet. I'll put it back into the chat. If you click on that, you can see at the bottom of the screen, can you see the little pink plus sign? If you click on the pink plus sign, there's the green. I'll go back to the PowerPoint to show you. Yeah, there's the little, you click on the plus sign after you've created your PowerPoint, obviously. And then this number 2 step for you is to upload it. And I have to tell you, I have really enjoyed following Murray's design principles in my own workshops and sessions, and especially when I do a session together with him, when we collaborate, I get quite nervous that I'm following his design principles. And I think he's got some really great ideas just to make that nice, clean. Oh, Legion, fantastic. Thank you so much. So Legion has put her image, and Michelle as well. So Legion, if you are feeling confident, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, would you like to explain to us how you've incorporated the design principles? In fact, I can open yours up for everyone to see.
I just had a play based on the steps. So Murray was talking about in the presentation there. So I used the design theme as well as design ideas. So it's automatically just created.
Yeah, fantastic.
So
how fast was that as well? You know, it really just is such an easy tool to use.
yeah, it's probably about 5 minutes.
Yeah, well done. Thank you. I think I just closed that here. How about you, Michelle? Are you happy to have a chat about how you designed this? Great.
Yeah, sure. I can have a chat about it.
Thank you. What design principles? What did you consider?
Oh, look, I found it really hard because my research isn't about people's motives, and finding a picture that captured that was just really difficult. So yeah, and even the title I'm not convinced about, but I just tried to keep it quite simple because it's about questioning other people's motives. So I thought maybe question marks, but I feel like it's pretty cliche, but I just tried.
I actually love it. I think it's intriguing. I think it's really intriguing. And, you know, as an English lit teacher, you know, using the alliteration of you know, why motives matter. I think it's if you had another, you know how you do the Mickey Mouse might.
Yes.
You're having it just sounds beautiful, and I think it's simple and intriguing, and I think the why plus the question marks works. It's that lovely balance.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Thank you.
I'm impressed, especially with how fast you did it.
Well,
Good
the tips are definitely worth keeping in mind. I think, and just it was really nice to get the tips about how to drag from Word and into PowerPoint. So there's definitely a lot of tips I'll be able to use going forward. So it's
Yeah,
really been
fantastic.
great value. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for sharing. Oh, we have a lot more now. Can I get a volunteer? We have Ruth, Jennifer, Angelique. Would anyone like to talk to their... I'll just quickly go back. Someone's asking about how to upload it. Just to remind you, use this button here and you can upload it. You save it somewhere and then you can upload it to the Padlet. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I had trouble too figuring out, but you have to click the link in the chat first to get to the...
Yeah, so open the Padlet first.
Yeah.
And then you can upload it. Okay, so go back to the Padlet. Would anyone like to talk to their slide?
Well, I tried to load for image that represents my title. So I found
Jennifer?
I found a CEO woman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just put in CEO woman and put that picture in, but I tried to get a different shape, like I would like a round shape, but I didn't know how to do it myself. I just saw there are some suggestions, but I'm trying to figure out how to put it in like a round shape myself.
Yeah, well, I think it looks very professional. It looks great. And, you know, as Murray suggested, you can go to the PowerPoint option of design themes.
Yeah.
And that gives you the other, like you can see, for example, in Angelique's, it's that faded, see how there's like a fade in the image fades into the writing.
Yeah, I found something similar in the design. So I just thought maybe I could do it myself, then it's more tailored. And yeah, maybe I have to shorten the title because that's the title of my paper. It might be too long.
Women striving for non-profit CEO positions, individual structural enablers and barriers. I mean, it really does depend on what your theme of your presentation is, you know, but again, we're here today to get you started and get you to actually try and start thinking about things. So if you're doing that, then that's success. Well done to everybody. I might actually move along. Yeah, that's a great picture as well, Gary. I might move along because there are other things to consider, but I just looking at all of these slides and the way you've structured them, I'm already excited to go and listen to your presentation. So well done everyone for trying. And again, this Padlet will stay open. So we can keep, can you see the little buffering sort of sign here? It means people are still uploading. So keep going and you can do it. We'll come back to this where you can do it while I talk to you now about the oral presentation. So let's move on, but you can keep working on it in the background. Okay, so another really important part of any presentation is your body language and your use of voice. So the importance of body language is that it assists us in understanding and decoding what a person is saying. It also can help us interpret other people's moods and emotions. So it enhances our conscious understanding of people's reactions and what we say and how we say it. Also, voice is so important. So a strong voice, remember, it conveys confidence. If you speak softly or if you mumble or if you trail off at the end of a sentence, it can be frustrating for the audience and the listener, but it can also suggest that you're uncertain and it really might undercut the value or strength of your presentation. So these two things, body language and use of voice, really, really important. That's why practice is important as well. So body language is also called nonverbal behavior, and using it well can build your credibility, help you express your emotions, and it helps you to connect with your listeners and importantly, give that memorable presentation. you know, actually your body language, the way you're standing at the start of a presentation, it's going to, your audience is going to look at the way you're standing right from the get-go. And they're going to determine, are you confident? Are you nervous? And it's really important that you practice and you know how to use your body language. It really plays a powerful role in your communication during a presentation. And in fact, I often refer to body language as your superpower. Okay, I'd like to suggest to you today, while you're practicing, check your habits. You might find that you sway. You might find that you say, you twirl your hair, or whatever it is. Consider that as well through your practice. Our hands are really, we use them a lot. Even now in this Zoom session, I'm conscious of trying to use my hands so that I can connect with you. There's certain things to consider, and there's a video there which will I'll send to you. I'll send this PowerPoint to you later with clickable links. This video is talking about what to do with your hands. It's really funny and fun if you've never seen it before. And the speaker talks about how your hands are so important. And if you're using them, you know, in a nervous manner, you come across as nervous as well. But if you use them confidently, it can help you to portray that confidence. Sometimes there's cultural implications as well. When we gesture, pointing might not culturally be acceptable. So when we gesture, we can have our palms up. As I said, you know, in certain countries, pointing at a person is considered rude. So we actually would, you know, in Australia, I think pointing at animate objects and inanimate objects are fine, but not always in every country. Don't fidget, don't put your hands in your pockets. Equally, don't cross your arms during a presentation. Hands on hips can have connotations of arrogance. Don't put your hands in front of your crotch. It's a good idea to keep your hands open. You may have a clicker, you may have notes, but there are ways to keep your hands open. I would also suggest don't overuse your gestures, your hand gestures as well. And then we're talking about standing. I think it's, again, as I said, communication often begins before you start speaking. Have that good posture right from the beginning. Stand strong, stand with 2 feet equally on the ground. Watch your movements. Again, don't fidget, don't sway. If you walk, make sure you're walking with a purpose. I hate it when I see presenters walking back and forth, and it's quite distracting. Face the audience. I often suggest, if you do have a screen, when Murray was giving his presentation now, he was right in front of the screen and he was referring to elements of design. So touching the screen seems fine. If the screen is quite far from you or, you know, higher up, there really is no purpose to actually touch the screen. Your words can orientate your audience to the part of the screen that you're referring to. Often that's also because your voice will not be audible to the audience if you're standing touching the screen. Face the audience, consider where to stand, and by looking at your space, like if you do book a presentation room for a milestone, go and check it out beforehand, days before, or at least hours before you have to start, and consider where you're going to stand in the room as well. If you are doing it online, which we often are finding ourselves doing it today, as you can see, when Murray recorded that, he stood up to present. It's nice to be able to stand up. I think there's something, it just seems to make you want to use your body language more. But you can sit like I'm doing. If you do have a swivel chair and you find yourself swiveling, don't sit in a swivel chair. So consider the chair that you're using. Also, I've positioned the camera, as you can see, right at my eye level. Sometimes I look down to read my notes, but I encourage you to talk to the camera as if you're talking to a friend or the audience members. You can continue to use your hands as I am, but they're more compact gestures. So something to consider. So for online presentations as well, it's important that you frame yourself, consider your lighting. We have a wonderful lighting room. We're in a beautiful room here that's completely set up. I have a professional microphone in front of me. You know, organize yourself. Also, if you are going to a venue, if it's impossible, if it's a presentation, it's a conference, and it's impossible for you to go and check out the venue, maybe you could ask people, you know, what things are available there, and make sure that you understand the technology and stuff as well. But I digress. Going back to the online presentations, consider what's behind you. I'm obviously using a filter here. Consider your the noise. The very first time I did a Zoom session back when COVID first hit us, my next door neighbor decided to mow his lawn, and I was freaking out because it was such a new experience and we didn't know what to do. So just, you know, if there is a very important event, maybe you live in an apartment complex or something, just consider just having a chat to the people around you to keep that noise at a minimum. Again, look at the camera, be aware of your facial expressions, use compact hand gestures, and again, know your technology, especially ahead of time. Zoom tends to change their functions quite often, so make sure that you're up to speed with them, and also make sure you have the newest version as well. I spoke at a conference earlier this year, and the conference was really well organized, and they had told me to have the latest version of Zoom. They gave me very clear instructions. So you may be lucky enough to present at a conference that's really organized. They even had a practice mic and camera setting where I had to put my face in a particular area, and my mic had to be at a certain level. It was really well organized. If the organizers of your conference don't offer you that, then you just need to consider all those things yourself. Okay, suggestions in person and online, both capacities, helps you speak. It helps your audience to remember you, but it's really important that your gesture and your message match. Sometimes maybe because of nerves, your gestures don't match your messages, 3 times. So make sure you do that. And that's often through practice as well. And it really will help you have that deeper connection. Again, you can use one hand or you can use both. It's also equally important to know the body language of your audience. Right now, I can't see any of you. None of you have got your cameras on. And I think maybe it's an advantage perhaps of doing Zoom presentations. But often when we are in that live, we can see they're not looking, this person's on their phone, this person's sleeping. By understanding the body language of our audience can help us to engage with them more. We could perhaps pause, we could perhaps ask another question just to get their engagement. So ways to engage are, and I think number one tip that you can take forever is be authentic. When I first started, I remember one of my colleagues could see that I was nervous, and she said to me, Tasha, be human, just be human, because if you're authentic and relatable, people will connect with you. So I encourage you today, if nothing else, take this away with you, be authentic in your presentations, okay? It's you should. We don't want a robot. That's why I always encourage you to smile at the beginning, despite having a serious, heavy topic, and be authentic. Remember as well, Murray and I recently did a module on presenting your research as well. And we said, at the end, you are the expert of your research. So what you need to do is be excited to tell everyone about your research, all the years of researching and hard labor, tell everyone what you've discovered, and that should give you the confidence. even if your supervisors are experts in your field, they're not experts in your topic. So have the confidence to really tell everyone, disseminate that research. Other ways to engage your audience is to ask those rhetorical questions. And we saw Gary do that at the beginning and others. Again, using the notes is okay. Although remember I said at the beginning, I think it's a great idea to memorize what you want to say. Pausing can engage your audience, emphasizing particular words, asking a question, using some humor, obviously within the context of your topic. Voice and body language as well can help you engage. And then we have verbal signposting. So that basically means, you know, when you're writing, as a writing teacher, I will encourage you to use transition words like furthermore, second. When you're speaking, it's different. We can use sentences like, okay, I'll now move on to, and then that okay just sort of wakes everybody up. Oh, all right, we're moving on now. Or you can say things like turning to the next issue, or what we can see here is, and you know, this verbal signposting is just, it makes you pause a little, it makes you stress something, and the audience can pick up on that. And it's just a really great way for you to engage your audience. All right, so voice, so important. And these are the elements of voice. Your pitch, how high is your voice? The pace. See, I've got some great alliteration here happening, Jennifer, P. Pace is your speed. You don't want to be too fast. And again, I think I often find students, when you're so involved in the content of your topic and even the title of your topic, I can't tell you how many times I meet a student and I say, oh, what's your topic? What's your title? And they rattle it off really quickly. And it's my first time to hear it. And I honestly can't understand what they've said. And I say, can you say it again? Consider that. Yes, it's your topic and you're so used to it, but your audience isn't. Speak clearly and slowly enough to so that they can take in your topic and perhaps those key words. So pace is really important. Not too fast and not too slow. Perhaps sometimes you can speak at different paces throughout. Pausing, a really great tool. It can add emphasis to something as well. Pronunciation, please do not go to your presentation, your next presentation, not knowing how to pronounce difficult words. This is really important that you practice, learn, ask someone how to pronounce a difficult word. If you have an accent, that's completely fine, that's irrelevant. It's just that you need to know how to pronounce a word. Volume as well is how loud something is. I've always been told that your voice should hit the back wall. So depending on the size of the room that you're in, you need to look at the back wall and you need to imagine your voice hitting that wall, okay? So that's a tip on the volume. And practice, you know, get your friend to come along and listen. Is it loud enough or not? The tone, obviously it's going to suit the topic of your presentation so that so you can effectively communicate your message. And I think it's something to remember is the way we speak, the tone that we use will let the audience know how they should feel about something. And you can see that when you're watching the news, for example, a news presenter's tone will get me in the mood for what the topic is. Emphasis as well, and then your articulation. So these are key elements for using your voice. Excuse me. I would suggest if you talk at the same speed throughout your presentation, your audience is going to become extremely tired. And perhaps you've been to presentations where you've seen that happen. So this is an example of what not to do. If you talk continuously as well, it's also very boring. The same volume can become hypnotizing, and the same tone, as you can see in this image here, your audience is going to fall asleep. All right, so that brings me to another practical activity. So in that sheet that Sentha sent out earlier, there is a section for you to look at a body language and voice. So I've got a very short video here. This was a 3MT, 3-minute thesis 2017 winner. And I'd like you to just observe these. There's two speakers actually. Just tell me, take some notes. What did they do well and what did they do poorly? Just based on everything I was talking to you about, body language and voice, okay? So it's only a couple of minutes long. So let's sit back, watch it, and take some little notes, and then you can add it to the chat about the things they did well and the things they did poorly. All right, let's go.
So starting us off,
Excuse me.
will be Phil Schneider. And Phil's going to talk about Tess Phantom Fingers for higher biometric security. His faculty advisor is Dr. Quang Oh in the Department of Electrical Engineering. A few fun facts about Phil is he has a cotton candy machine in his lab, which he says he only uses for research, which I'm very happy to hear. He's a level 32 in Pokemon hashtag Team Mystic, and he is a New York Western New York Prosperity Fellow. So, ready, set, pitch.
Biometrics are the statistical analysis of a human behavioral or physical characteristic. This could be anything from an eye scan, to the way you talk, to a fingerprint, or behavioral, how you walk, or do you have an accent. We use biometrics in the world all around us today. Whether you're traveling across the country and you have a passport, that has your biometric. Maybe you're entering in your cell phone and using your fingerprint. That is also a biometric. What if I told you, though, that your biometric may not be that safe? What if I told you that if you were to give me your cell phone, I could lift a fingerprint from your screen, mold a finger around that phone, and get right back into your cell phone? I'd have access to your emails, your contacts, your text messages, Apple Pay, Google Pay, maybe even a bank account. This happens. This is easy to do. Hackers do it, terrorists do it, and PhD electrical engineers can do it. This is a problem that industry has been trying to solve, and it's costing them millions of dollars. And it's a problem that my research is trying to solve. I create what are called Tess Phantom Fingers, and they're essentially replicas of human fingers that recreate the physiological structures inside. My hope with my research is to measure subdermally, or within the finger, to use that as a biometric. So inside the finger, we have things like flowing blood. We have things like arteries and veins. I work with companies' fingerprint sensors to calibrate their system to image subdermally. I give them my Tess Phantom finger, and they image it, and they recognize whether they're doing well from a system performance or poorly. My Tess Phantom finger has to be physiologically accurate, right? So I have arteries, veins, fat, muscle, skin. I have fingerprints. I put bone in there, blood that flows through. It has a heart rate to it. It also has a capillary network. And when I say capillary network, I want you to think about a very small fluidic network at the tip of your finger. How small? Roughly 1/100th of the size of a human hair. Just enough for a blood cell to flow through. How do we recreate that? Cotton candy. Turns out the sugar strands of cotton candy, the fibers, are the same size as a capillary network. So I'm utilizing cotton candy in my research to recreate that capillary network to create a really realistic Tess Phantom for these companies to test on. My hope for this research? To create a more secure biometric imaging subdermally to protect both your data as well as my data. And with that, thank you.
Excellent. There we go. So I was writing down some notes about some great body language and voice things that I think this duo did well, especially the second speaker. Is there anybody who'd like to let me know what they saw or what they thought. Okay, Gary's saying that there was humor, related difficult physiological ideas to real world experiences, capillary reaction to cotton candy. I know, amazing, isn't it? And I was even thinking perhaps his title slide could be an image of cotton candy. Michelle's saying that he explained terms used. Good. Anyone else got some? Yeah. What did you think? Legion saying that she couldn't help noticing his hand and fingers as he talked about biometric technology. Did you like that, Legion, or did you find it distracting?
Well, it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, because it's talking about biometric, and you immediately think about, oh, that's about finger, and then you couldn't help seeing his fingers moving, his hand is moving as well in the whole speech. It's yeah, it's maybe because of his research topic. I thought it's quite irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
To that. That's irrelevant. It is relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, thank you. I like the way he used the tip of his finger. He said that. Ruth is saying he used the same gesture for biometric at least 4 times. Yeah, sometimes overuse. I mean, sometimes repetition is a good thing. I think there's just a balance of it. Michelle's suggesting that he spoke clearly, not too fast. Andalip saying visualize certain words with hands, like that tip of your finger. I think he used lots of great rhetorical questions as well. I personally, when he was talking and he was going, I'm going to do this, but he kept going, and then I kind of thought he overused that a little bit, but sometimes it is good. Sometimes we don't need a gesture at all. So don't think you need to have a gesture for every single thing that you say. Are there any other comments? How are we going for time? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for your input. Please feel free to keep adding there. The last part of today's writing circle is just to consider the question time stage. I think that what your job is, and it's even part of your preparation, is to anticipate possible question. You could talk to your supervisory team about possible questions that could be asked. And you could even plant a friend to ask a question. I don't know if you've seen that Big Bang Theory episode where Howard was planted in the audience for Raj, and Raj had this wonderful answer all pre-prepared. That's something else that people do. Know your why, know your how. And I think have that confidence again that you are the expert. You actually do know the answers as well. Consider that you may want someone to repeat the question, to clarify the question. It's absolutely fine for you to ask them to do that. It may give you that time to consider your reply as well. Also, don't be scared to write down the question. Sometimes questions are layered, and people don't just ask one question, they ask 3 questions in one question, and it's confusing. And especially if you're stressed, take a moment, write it down. Your audience will understand. They're probably, checking their phone quickly or doing something anyway, but please feel confident to be able to write it down. Consider if the question is outside your scope, you may need to check details. That's fine as well. And also, I find sometimes people won't answer that question. Someone will ask a particular question, but the speaker will end up going all over and going here and there. Just answer the question, consider what the question is, answer it, and stop, and just allow another question. I think that's maybe a good tip as well. So I don't know if we do have time to do this now, but I would like you to consider 2 questions that you would like to be asked at your next presentation, and then 2 questions that you hope you won't be asked. And perhaps that will help you to consider what you could answer as well. I was at a conference earlier this year, and I was doing a presentation on the Pacific Islands. The conference was actually in South Africa. It was in Zoom, and the presenter asked me in front of everyone, what do I see as the similarities between South Africa and the Pacific Islands? And I completely blindsided, was not expecting that. I have no idea about the South African context, and I really was freaking out internally, trying not to show that I was freaking out internally. Luckily, one of my fellow co-presenters jumped in and helped me, but it was a really great example for me to know I need something prepared for those hairy questions that you're not expecting. And sometimes you can be like a politician and not answer the question properly if you are in that position, but have a really great answer ready. And again, I would also just suggest be honest as well. All right. When you have a blind moment, Legion, again, I think just be honest. The audience can see. I was fumbling for the mute button. I think my co-presenter because she wasn't in the limelight at the moment, she wasn't feeling the stress that I was. And so she was able to come in, and really her reply had nothing to do with the question anyway. She just gave some very generic reply, but was able to at least fill the gap and have something to say. So yes, that was my particular experience. Okay, so we'll just end today with some final tips. And the biggest one is nerves are part of presentations. And in the workshop Murray and I did last week about presentations, we did talk a lot more about being nervous. Today, as a writing circle, with those practical activities, we haven't really covered that today, but I think the best way to overcome your nerves is by practicing. Practice again. Again, please check out the presenting space if you are able, or ask someone about what it looks like. Arrive early. There's nothing worse than a student rushing in with 10 minutes to spare, sweaty, nervous, their mind is everywhere. Don't let that happen to you. I've seen that countless times. Don't be that person. I'd also like to suggest, please be presentable. Choose clothes that are comfortable, not jingly earrings or not brand new shoes. Consider what you are going to wear. Breathe. This will relax you. And ultimately, enjoy it. Enjoy telling everyone about this research that you have been doing and you're so proud of, because we really do want to hear it. I will just ask you, I think Asantha's going to put a link into the survey for today's session. Thank you in advance for doing that. But what we might quickly also do is have a look. So we do have a couple of more. Thanks, Ishadi's added her slide as well. Beautiful image. I love the flow. There's a nice balance. Obviously, you're going to put the title here, and that's an intriguing picture. Can you tell us, Ishadi, what's the topic?
You just have to click on the slide. I think it should come there.
Thank you. The impact of rapid automation technologies on data-related techno-stress in end users of RATs, rapid automation technologies, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Rapid on data-related techno-stress in end users. You probably don't need to have that of RATs again because you've already put it at the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so yes, thanks for coming along today. I do hope that you know, by Murray and I pushing you to make those slides, pushing you to consider your opening line and your closing line, pushing you to consider the questions that you want someone to ask you or the questions that you don't want to be asked. I hope that that's really helping you to, you know, start considering your conference or your Milestone seminars. I also want to end today by telling you that we have this 3-minute thesis competition. Greg runs that. That it's not too late. You can still register by July 3rd. I think there's a link, or actually this will be a clickable link. Thanks so much, Gary. We also have the VYT, the Visualize Your Thesis competition, same, register by July 3rd. There's prize money for both. It's an opportunity for you to disseminate your research to, you know, the international audience and tell everyone about your research. You know, you can increase your research exposure. So the Visualize Your Thesis, or VYT, is just creating that 1-minute digital short, that slide. And Murray is actually the convener of this competition in our team. All right, I can stay, and Michelle's recommending the 3MT. Great practice for presenting. It absolutely is. Thanks, Carla. Thanks, Legion, Michelle, Jaja. Thanks, everybody, for your nice comments, and thanks for being here today. If you do want to stick around and ask a question, I'm happy to try and answer that for you. Otherwise, thanks so much for your time, and this has been recorded, and I will send out all of the links soon. Thanks, Shafina, Paula, Jennifer.
Thank you, Tasha. I have just a quick question, because I'm doing the conference paper presentation. On my presentation slide, shall I also include the co-authors on the title slide?
Is it the co-presenters?
No, I'm the only presenter, only attendee at the conference, but the paper is written with my supervisor as well.
Yes, well, I would consider if it's a conference on a paper that you've written, then I think that yes, you should include them. You should acknowledge them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, thank you.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hi, Rowena. Do you have a question?
I've got a question, Tasha.
Yes.
Who's
the, oh, Gary.
Hi there. Yeah, with the 3MT, I'm drawn to wanting to be able to, you know, apply to do this, but I'm not quite sure whether I'd be ready in time